Have you ever looked at your bank account and thought, I did everything right, so why am I still here? Have you ever realized that the person who taught you to work hard never became rich doing that? Then you are ready to hear what no one has the courage to tell you about money. After 30, the world no longer entertains promises. It begins to demand positioning. Before that threshold, you can still shield yourself with more experience, another course, greater discipline, more time. Beyond it, those phrases dissolve into background noise, because reality reveals what it has always been, a field of forces, and within that field, those who play too cleanly lose quietly. You followed every rule. At least that's what you were led to believe. You worked hard, saved, stayed in line, avoided risks, and kept a low profile, paid everything on schedule, waited your moment. And still, the outcome is exhaustion without progress. Immense effort, no real accumulation of power, a fatigue that only generates more fatigue. You are not incompetent. It's worse. You are structurally obedient, disciplined, ethical, patient, useful, and usefulness without strategy becomes expendable fuel. There was a man who understood this centuries ago. He didn't apologize for it. He didn't dilute it. He revealed it plainly. Wealth is not allocated by fairness. Adult life does not reward virtue on its own. The system favors those who grasp the hidden rules, not those who comply with the visible ones. That man was Machiavelli, and his core principle remains unchanged. Effective truth outweighs imagined truth. What functions overrides what is supposed to function. This is not a motivational piece. It is a verdict. You won't be taught how to earn money. You will dismantle the mental structure that keeps you useful inside someone else's game. If you stay until the end, returning to comfortable naivety won't be possible. Because once ignorance is exposed, it turns into complicity. And complicity in your own exploitation is not innocence. It is a decision. Before you learn how to win, you need to recognize what within you is still committed to losing. The relevant weakness is not physical. It is the one you carry disguised as principle. The average man lives as if the world were an extended classroom. Effort produces grades. Obedience produces approval. Loyalty produces protection. He expects life to operate like a moral contract. Work correctly, earn correctly. Save correctly, live correctly. It is a religion without a deity, yet with full submission intact. And the real issue is not believing this at 20. It is still believing it at 35, when the body tires faster and the income remains unchanged. This inherited formula is not universal truth. It is a historical artifact. Formal education, stable employment, decades in the same company, savings as protection, a peaceful retirement. This existed. It worked for a specific period in a slower, more protected world, with less visible asymmetry. Today, insisting on this path is entering a war with last century's weapon. Not because discipline is useless, but because discipline without reading the board becomes merely memorized obedience. The same virtue that once protected you now places you in the line of the replaceable. And there is the most intimate myth, the one that hurts to dismantle. Hard work creates wealth. It does not. Hard work creates fatigue. The worker trades time for salary in a linear equation that has a built-in ceiling. 40 hours, 60 hours, 80 hours, it does not matter. The clock always wins. The owner, on the other hand, does not live inside this exchange. He controls structures, assets, leverage. He builds something that produces value while he sleeps, while he travels, while he thinks about the next move. The worker prides himself on fatigue as if it were a badge of honor. The owner sees fatigue as a design flaw. If you are always exhausted, it is not because you are winning. It is because you are trapped in a model that consumes energy without accumulating power. Exhaustion is not a virtue. It is a symptom. Then comes the illusion of saving. Keeping money aside has been mistaken for security, as if simply cutting expenses meant you were already constructing something. But saving is a defensive posture, and within a system where money loses value month after month, saving without a plan is nothing more than delaying loss. The one who saves feels disciplined because he avoids exposure. He does not have to understand leverage, does not have to deal with volatility, does not have to face the fact that idle money is slowly decaying. He calls this caution to avoid admitting he is standing still. Meanwhile, those who understand the rules treat money as a transient instrument. They transform it into assets, into structures, into systems that expand faster than inflation consumes. And then there is the most convenient illusion of all, the idea that honesty and loyalty will inevitably be rewarded, that the world acknowledges character, that fairness pays off over time. The system was never built to reward virtue. It rewards precision, access, timing, and asymmetry. Tax systems, debt engineering, refinancing, compound growth, legal leverage, ownership structures, discrete offshore arrangements. These benefit those who grasp the hidden mechanics. The majority is taught to fear debt as if it were a moral flaw. The elite is taught to deploy debt as an instrument. The majority avoids risk because it was conditioned to equate safety with value. The elite accepts calculated risk because it understands that safety without expansion is a comfortable cage. And here is the uncomfortable conclusion. Continuing to play fair after recognizing this is not purity. It is deliberate submission. You have seen the board. Now you decide whether you remain a piece. Now stop. If you have come this far and are still paying attention, something inside you has already shifted. It may be irritation, it may be curiosity, it may be that uneasy recognition of a pattern you chose not to see. It does not matter. What matters is that from this point forward, you cannot keep the same mindset and expect different results. This is not a soft invitation. It is a test of tolerance. If this unsettles you too much, if your instinct is to reject it without argument, only with emotion, leave now. Because what follows does not relax. It intensifies. Subscribe if you have the tolerance to keep seeing what most people prefer to ignore. Subscribe if you want to step out of the role of a piece and move into the role of a strategist. Because from here on, each video goes deeper. Not to wound, to wake you. If you made it this far, you are already inside. Now you only need to state it. In the comments, you will write a short, direct sentence as a vote of rupture with the old code. The mantra of this video carries the core of everything. After 30, you do not live by being fair. You live by being effective. You do not play clean. You play to win. Comment: I play to win. Writing this does not change the world. It changes your mental position. Those who comment cross the line between hearing and applying. Those who do not comment remain in the moral audience, waiting for a reward that never comes. Here comes the law that ties everything together: effective truth. Seeing what works, not what should work. Seeing what produces results, not what produces emotional comfort. This is the ground of Machiavellian thinking. Reality is not moral, it is functional. And you do not win by what you feel, you win by what you understand. The problem is that most people live protecting their ego with narratives that block action. They prefer to be morally right rather than strategically effective. One of these protective mechanisms is the act of downplaying money, as if rejecting it were a sign of virtue, as if choosing poverty were a form of wisdom. But under closer inspection, it is often nothing more than inability dressed up as philosophy. And another frequent mechanism is the moral condemnation of wealth. All rich people are corrupt. These statements resemble ethical positions, but in practice they numb perception. They convert lack of competence into a sense of moral elevation. It is a familiar move. When you cannot compete, you vilify the arena, and in doing so, you avoid ever stepping into it. You preserve the illusion of purity while you deteriorate. Money is an impersonal structure of power. It carries no inherent morality. It is a system shaped by incentives, behavior, and positioning. The system does not malfunction for failing to reward virtue. It operates precisely as intended. And that is what unsettles. There is no arbiter. There is no built-in karma. There is a game board. And the board does not evaluate goodness. It evaluates whether you understand how to play. This is where the Machiavellian reversal of fair play appears. Playing fair, at a certain stage, becomes a liability when it translates into being predictable, exposed, and compliant. This is not about turning criminal. It is not about deception. It is not about violating laws. It is about no longer placing yourself at the mercy of systems that offer little and demand endless loyalty. Fairness often conceals deeper fears: fear of taking risks, fear of confrontation, fear of judgment, fear of abandoning the identity of being good. And beyond 30, that fear accumulates interest, because while you protect your image, time moves forward, and time is the only resource that cannot be reclaimed. The principle is direct. Adult life does not compensate good intentions. It rewards operational capacity within reality. Those who lack clarity remain waiting for the world to adjust. Those who see clearly reposition themselves. And that demands a harsh internal audit. Which beliefs lead to action? Which only generate justification? Which ideas create capital? Which merely soothe emotions? Most of your beliefs were not consciously formed. They were absorbed. And you never pause to verify whether they function or simply keep you compliant. The conclusion is blunt. After 30, innocence is not a sign of purity. It is exposure. And exposure in the context of money is not poetic. It is leveraged against you. You can remain a good person, but abandon the assumption that goodness is a strategy. Those who control the system are not evaluating your character. They are assessing your utility. And the moment that utility disappears, so do you. Removed with the same indifference with which you were brought in. No ritual, no justification, just substitution. There is a type of man who embodies all of this. He does not need a name. You already know him. Maybe it is you, a proper professional, a family man, an exemplary employee, disciplined, loyal, patient, proud of not being like the clever ones. He believed that life would recognize his character, that honest effort would build a solid foundation, that playing by the rules would guarantee security. And for a while, he even felt protected. Not because he was winning, but because he was obeying. And obedience brings the illusion of being on the right path. Then the collapse happens. It is not explosive. It is silent. It can come as a cold dismissal after 15 years of loyalty. It can come as inflation that swallows 3 years of savings in 6 months. It can come as a promotion that turns into nothing when you see the real salary. It can come as a boss who replaces you with someone cheaper, younger, more docile. It can come as a market that changes and leaves you obsolete. It can come as an account that does not close, even when you are doing everything right. The detail that kills. He realizes he is falling behind while continuing to do exactly what he has always done. And the worst part, he was not cheated by a villain. He was used by a system that rewards utility, not virtue. The revelation arrives as a rupture of identity. He understands that he was trained to be a piece. Work, pay, consume, wait, complain in private, obey in public. He was fuel. And when he tries to appeal to justice, he discovers that justice is not currency in the market. It is only discourse. It serves for campaigns, for headlines, for catchy phrases, but it does not pay bills. It does not buy time back. It does not rebuild lost years. At that moment, the symbolic death of the good man happens. Not the death of personal ethics, the death of strategic naivety, and the sentence that seals everything, the one he thinks but does not say out loud. I was not defeated by malice. I was defeated by innocence. This pain is reading. Humiliation becomes information. Loss becomes diagnosis. The collapse did not come to punish, it came to wake him up. And from here on, he can no longer pretend he did not understand. Because he understood. He saw. He felt. Now all that is left is to decide. Does he keep pretending he did not see? Or does he rebuild from zero with brutal clarity? Because real training begins when the excuse dies, and the excuse has just died. Now leave philosophy and enter operation. What you do, how you do it, why you do it. First, surplus is a weapon. Stop treating having money left over as emotional savings. Every real that was not consumed is a soldier, and a soldier does not stand still waiting for the war to end. He is sent to generate more power. The difference between those who are strong and those who are fragile is not in how much they earn, it is in how much they can keep out of consumption. Lifestyle is the most elegant prison. You get promoted, increase your salary, and automatically raise your standard to feel validated. A better car, a bigger apartment, a more expensive restaurant, branded clothes, and at the end of the month, yet the same amount remains as before, sometimes less, because now there are more fixed costs, more commitments, more pressure to maintain the image. The surplus disappears, and without surplus, you have no war capital. You are only sustaining your own theater. Second, never submit to a single source. Relying on one income is just modern servitude disguised with a polished label. When your survival is tied to a single paycheck, your mental independence erodes. You become compliant, careful with every word, afraid, easy to read. Because at your core, you know, if that disappears, you collapse. So you tolerate disrespect. You pretend approval when you should object. You remain when you should walk away. Employment must be reframed as a provisional instrument, a starting point, not an end point. The objective is to create multiple streams, multiple engines, multiple paths. Not from greed, but from control. Because those with two sources do not panic when one stops. Those with 3 or 4 can lose one and still stand firm. That is the line between actual stability and its illusion. Third, leverage is liberation from time. The worker's limit is numerical. 40 hours, 60, 80, it changes nothing. Time always dominates. Exchanging hours for income is a formula with a fixed ceiling. Leverage is what allows limited input to produce amplified output. Financial leverage, controlling an asset without fully owning it. Time leverage, delegation, automation, systems that operate without your presence. Knowledge leverage, an idea that scales, turning into a product, a course, advisory, a framework. Media leverage, one action that reaches thousands again and again, shout without being rebuilt each time. The principle is simple. Stop being a piece inside the machine. Start behaving like the one who designs it. Fourth, select the terrain. Skill in the wrong environment turns into pain. A capable individual in a declining field bleeds slowly. An average one in an expanding field rises without extreme effort. The strategist analyzes where capital moves, where networks cluster, where problems carry higher value. He does not only ask, "What do I enjoy?" He asks, "Where does reality reward this more?" He sees himself as a movable asset, not a fixed identity. Because a fixed identity is an anchor, and anchors drag down those who refuse to release them. Fifth, build a fortress of unseen wealth. Do not exhibit. Do not declare. Do not convert assets into spectacle. Exposure creates vulnerability. The world targets what stands out. Loud wealth attracts envy, legal threats, social pressure, family demands, emotional and fiscal costs. A fortress is structure, legal frameworks, diversification, discrete operations, separation between who you are and how you earn. The gray man is not weak. He is shielded. He may hold substantial assets and still appear upper middle class. He drives well, but without ostentation. Lives comfortably, without advertising the location. Travels without broadcasting it. Expands without announcements. Because he understood, real power does not require an audience. Sixth, money as a system of pressure and human reading. It is not just about accumulating. It is about understanding behavior. Resources reveal character under stress. Giving or denying exposes loyalty, resentment, ambition, dependence. Just strategic generosity becomes diagnosis. And here comes the final touch. Money also designs environments. It buys comfort. It creates exit cost. And without violence, without threat, it shapes loyalty. Because when someone gets used to a standard you provide, losing it becomes pain. And pain generates docility. It is not crude manipulation. It is incentive architecture. The complete method leaves a clear sensation. Wealth is not just consumption. It is the ability to shape reality discreetly, without noise, without guilt. The final state is not happiness. It is lucidity. The transformed man loses the need for moral approval. He does not need to appear good to feel worthy. He trades emotional comfort for real capacity. And this is the turning point. After 30, those who become rich are not those who work more. They are those who stop being used. He stops being virtuous in public and weak inside. He becomes discreet on the outside and strong by structure. He does not seek security in discourse. He builds security in mechanisms. He does not get irritated with injustice like a rebellious child. He incorporates reality as a strategist and acts on it. He does not hate the rich for existing. He understands why they exist and learns to operate under the same laws. In this new condition, reality itself feels different. Urgency fades as dependence dissolves. Fear loses strength as exposure shrinks. Submission weakens because alternatives exist. He does not pursue wealth for display. He pursues it to never have to lower his head. He does not operate by fairness in an emotional sense. He operates by correctness in a structural sense. And that distinction is what separates a component from a designer. He no longer has to persuade anyone of anything. He no longer needs to defend his decisions. He no longer needs to clarify why he refuses what is expected of him. Because he created margin, and margin is tangible freedom, not motivational rhetoric. He observes others still confined to the old logic and does not feel above them. He feels detached, because now he operates in a different language. He thinks in systems, not salaries. He thinks in assets, not expenses. He thinks in positioning, not effort. And when someone says the world is unfair, he does not argue. He simply no longer relies on the world to change. He shifted his place on the board, and that alone is sufficient. Reaffirming the central point. After 30, continuing to play fair like a child is not virtue. It is strategic self-destruction. The world will not become fair because you behave well. The system will not compensate you for loyalty. The only exit is clarity, positioning, and structure. You have already seen too much to claim ignorance. Ignorance is finished. The excuse is finished. From here forward, obedience is a decision, and this must be understood. This video does not offer comfort. It imposes strategic accountability. Wealth in this context is not cruelty, it is lucidity. Freedom is not given, it is constructed. And now you stand at the final divide, pawn or architect. The mantra returns as a sealing act, not as empty interaction, as a public declaration of a break from the old code. Write it simply, cold, final. I play to win. And remember, continue the training, deepen the vision, abandon the morality of the masses, consolidate the fortress. Because those who learn to see stop being guided, those who learn to structure stop being exploited, and those who understand the game never play fair out of innocence again. They play to win, always. Comment, subscribe. The next videos are already on the screen. Continue your mental training.